We want to be able to, for the project that we're going to be working, integrate with a third-party API that can give us some information about movies, right? Maybe some poster art, directors, actors, some ratings on some of the Metacritic or Rotten Tomato, and use this API as our source of truth. This is data that we don't own, somebody else owns, somebody else maintains this, and we'd like to be able to integrate with it so that we can query using some keywords, some genres, some titles, and then it can come back with a result set that meets that criteria. So this is one of them, omdb API. There's a plethora out there. If you find one that might work better for you, that's fine if you use that one. But I'm going to cover this one. You can become a patron if you want, but they do have a free version. But you need to apply for a key, for an API key. Okay? To apply for the API key, you can go to the API key, and you can ask for a free version of the API key, which limits how many queries can you do per day, 1,000 queries per day, right? So certainly not good for production if you're going to do this for mass market and whatnot. But at least for our course, it's plenty to query just 1,000 per day. You give it your email, name, last name, and explain that you're using this for educational purposes, that you're learning how to use APIs. Submit it, and they'll send you an email with the API key. Okay. Right. I'm going to be using my API key for demonstration purposes. Please do not use my API key. Use your own. All right. Whatever they send you back from here. So the API key that you get. Let's see what I got. You get something like this, saying that this is your API key, and you need to activate it. Notice that there's a link at the bottom, and then you click on it. That's how they verify that this email is actually valid. And then they give you an example query that you can use. And if you click on that query, it says this is a response of a query asking for details for a particular movie. In this case, it's Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 2. And the URL has the following syntax. All the URLs start with www.omdbapi.com / notice that it has several parameters. Right, these are query parameters. Notice that they start with a question mark and after the URL, after the domain. And there's two attributes here. One is I, and the other attribute is API key. For every request that you want to send over to this service, you need to provide your API key. That's how it verifies that it's going to respond to anything. And then the other one is what value, what data do you want to filter by? In this case, we are using a unique identifier. Each movie has a unique identifier, which is referred to as the IMDb API, IMDb ID. Even though it uses IMDb, they don't claim any affiliation with IMDb. But that ID is actually the ID that IMDb uses for its internal purposes. Okay, so there is a match. There's something going on between the two, but they don't have a formal affiliation with the site. Anyway, so if you want to search by ID, if you know the ID of your movie, you can just say I equal the ID of the movie, and it retrieves that one movie. Okay, and that movie the data comes back as a JSON object. which has multiple name-value pairs, right, where the names are the properties, title, year, rated, release, runtime, genre, and whatnot. Okay. We have writers, right? It's a comma-separated list of writers. We have actors. It's also a comma-separated list of actors. Okay. Then down below, we have a couple more things. We have a plot. We have a poster. This poster is an actual URL that links to an actual image. And if you go back, let's see. We have also we have ratings from some of the more common rating sites. We have from the IMDb rating. We have Rotten Tomatoes. We have Metacritic. Okay, these are all ratings from live sites. We have a Metascore. We have IMDb rating, IMDb votes. Here's the IMDb ID that I mentioned earlier. Right, this uniquely identifies the movie, right, in their database. Okay, all right, great. So certainly we want to be able to do this programmatically. We want to be able to, from within our code, somehow retrieve information about a particular movie. Yes. So we need to know how to do that. We'll learn how to do that in a minute. The other thing we need to learn how to do is be able to not just search for a particular movie, but search as a unstructured query, right? Maybe we might search by the title of a movie, by genre, by an actor, and so what the API allows you to do is search by a keyword. You just give it a keyword, and it'll come back with anything that matches that keyword. Right? It'll go against the title, it'll go against the actors, it will go against the multiple fields, right? And whatever matches, it'll come back. So to do that, we can use, instead of I, we can use S as in search, as a search string. And then as a value, we can give it a keyword that will be used for matching. So we can use something like Batman. Okay? And if we do that, it comes back with a result of all the movies that match that query, that generic query. Yes?
If you were off the garden, like search by keyword, would you include the space?
You would include the space. What it'll do is that the browser will automatically encode the space as a special character, right? And then it will send it. You don't have to encode it yourself. It'll encode it for you. Okay. Right. So notice that the response that came back from the database is slightly different. The schema is slightly different. It's instead of having the titles and the ratings and whatnot, instead it has three attributes, only three attributes. One of them is the actual results. Right? Actually only the first 10 results. Okay. It also says how many actually matched, and here says this total results. There's a total of 340 movies that match your query, of which I am only sending the first 10. Okay. And it says that the response was successful. There was a successful response, right? So total results can be used along with an additional parameter that you can give it. Right? This is considered to be the first page of multiple pages. You can add an additional attribute here. Ampersand page, and say page equal. And then page 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So you can get the next 20, the next 30, the next 40, right? Results. That make sense? How many pages? Well, it'll be 340 divided by 10. That's 34 pages, right? So you can ask for page 30, and it'll say, well, the 10 movies in that particular page. Make sense? Everybody good? All right. So here we're doing it manually. We would like to learn how to do this programmatically. Right? We need to integrate somehow our application to this system. Notice that the search results that are coming back are much less verbose, right? Than if you're looking for a particular movie, right? This is kind of like a summary result that only comes back with the five most most common attributes or of importance for a particular movie, right? The title of the movie, the year, the IMDb, the type, and the poster, right? So this would allow you to maybe generate a very quick summary page, perhaps, like a result page, of which you could then, maybe select one of the 10 and then navigate to a more detailed page. Yes, right. So that the navigation might look like something like this, right, where you have a search results or search page, right, where you can type the search. You type Batman search, and then it lists the top 10, and you can scroll and whatnot. Maybe you have a thumbnail over here. You list the movie, and if you want to know more information, you click on one of them, and it navigates to a different page, right, where perhaps maybe has a bigger image, maybe the title, the director, and then maybe the plot, the actors, maybe down below you might have maybe the reviews for that movie, right? Okay, notice that this query, this data, and this data are coming from the cloud. Right, we're going to go fetch for a query Batman, right, and we display the results, and then when we select that particular one, we go again to the database, right, giving it the IMDb, right, and this comes back with a detailed information about that particular movie, and we might render it on the page. Yes, right. That IMDb, we can actually use it to go against our database, our local database. And see if we have a movie with that IMDb. Do we have a movie that we've created with that IMDb? Maybe we don't have it, right? Typically, we won't have it most of the times, right? If people are just browsing around randomly, correct? Why would we even have it in our database? Well, we would only have it in our database if we need to remember anything about that movie, right? Only if somebody likes the movie or somebody has reviewed that movie, right? Would we ever have to actually store it in our database, correct? But if people are just randomly searching and navigating, they could just be using the remote database, correct? There's no need for us to store anything in our database. Only if we need to remember anything about that movie would we ever store it in our database, right? And the only way, and we would use this IMDb so that we can reference, right, cross-reference what some information that might live out there and some information that we might have in our database. So we can store, maybe display the details above, and then maybe the reviews for that particular movie that lives in our database. Yes? So this page might be a mesh of data coming from the remote site and some data that's coming from our database, right? So you might display it in one single page, perhaps, right? Or you might decide that it might be better to display in two different pages, right? That's up to you, how you want to display it, right? Or that you might say, you click on reviews, and then it goes to a different page, and then it looks for the reviews and displays the reviews. It's up to you how you want to render it. That might be easier actually, to have it in a separate page, maybe. Anyway, so let's play around with this part, right? And how do we integrate programmatically what we did manually? How can we programmatically do it? So there's a plethora of ways that we could do it, right? I'm going to show you, I think, one of the easier ways to do it. Not necessarily the best, but I'll show you the easier one. I think it's the easier one to understand. And we could perhaps discuss alternatives, right? We don't want to impose the actual implementation on you, but I do want to give you some alternatives that you can that you might have. Okay? Yes. All right. So let's see what could we do to integrate with this. So we're gonna need these two URLs. Right? We want to be able to do this instead of manually from the browser. We want to do it programmatically. Let's do that. And let's do that. Let's start that in a separate video.